You are listening to Viewpoints from PlaceCloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
Nowadays, Shacklewell Lane is largely residential, with restaurants, hair salons, and corner shops peppering a landscape of terraced houses and purpose-built blocks of flats. But in the 17th century, Shacklewell Lane was the center of Shacklewell, a very small settlement whose spring and relative seclusion led to it becoming somewhat popular with early modern London merchants. There was only one estate in the area, first owned by the Rowe family and then sold to Francis Tyson in 1685. In this area, perhaps near where Shacklewell Green is today, was the first girls' school associated with Quakerism, also known as the Society of Friends. In 1668, George Fox, the founder of Quakerism, established the first two official Quaker schools. The boys' school was in Waltham Abbey, Essex, and the girls' school was in Shacklewell, a small village within the parish of Hackney. Fox hired a widow named Mary Stott, who was an upstanding Quaker and a personal friend of Fox, to, quote, instruct young lasses and maidens in whatsoever things was civil and useful in ye creation, end quote. It's not known how long Stott taught at Shacklewell for, but we know from Quaker records that Jane Bullock was the head of the school by 1677. Bullock passed away in 1687, and it's unclear who led Shacklewell after her or for how long the school lasted. The only information we in the 21st century have about Shacklewell is what we know about Quaker education and surviving needlework made by students who attended the school. Even though records do not survive, we can assume Shacklewell students were given a thorough education, one that focused on literacy. Quakers valued literacy for several reasons. It enhanced employment prospects, enabled the reading of the Bible and other approved literature, and allowed for the recording of meeting minutes and information about the imprisonment and punishment of Quakers as a lesson to others in the community. Friends were also taught languages like Greek, Latin, and Hebrew in order to read religious scriptures in their original languages. Quakers were not taught artistic accomplishments like music, drama, or dance, as they were seen as too vain and worldly. Shacklewell girls were taught needlework, which we know because quite a few pieces of embroidery from the school survive. All girls and women in 17th century England were expected to stitch clothing and household linens and furnishings, and Quaker girls were no exception. We know the names of two Shacklewell students, Hannah Downs and Elizabeth Hall, because of their surviving needlework. Downs's needlework suite is in the Victoria and Albert Museum and includes two samplers, a workbox, and a slew of needleworked accessories she made at Shacklewell, as well as a variety of embroidered goods made by her descendants who were also Quakers. Based on the dates stitched on her needlework, Hannah Downs attended Shacklewell from 1681 to 1684. Elizabeth Hall attended at the same time, which we know because her workbox, which is held by Whitney Antiques, is dated 1683. Like Downs, many pieces of the needlework Hall made at Shacklewell were kept for centuries in her workbox, alongside stitching completed by her Quaker descendants. 17th century letters tell us that Rachel Fell, George Fox's stepdaughter, also attended Shacklewell. It is not known how many Quaker girls were taught at the school over its at least 19-year history. Clearly, many questions about Shacklewell remain. While we do not know much about Shacklewell beyond its founding year and teachers, the survival of needlework from the school can tell us much about what Quaker girls were taught to stitch and how it came to be that Quaker needlework was some of the finest extant stitching from 17th century England. The founding of Shacklewell in tandem with Waltham Abbey, the boys' school, illustrates the value Quakers put on equal education for boys and girls. These institutions were established very soon after Quakerism developed in the mid 17th century, which demonstrates the Quaker devotion to education for and by their own community in an effort to raise generation after generation of knowledgeable, pious, and modest Quakers.